absolutely beautiful Leo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2023, where Leo, this month we start out nice and slow. We are not running into this month. There's none of that. There is none of that, okay? We're coming across the threshold of 2023 into January nice and slow. It's still in a state of reflection, but there will be a release this month, and then we'll feel the fullness of that release as we get to March, especially with Mars getting all the way through its post-retrograde shadow energy. So I just want you to take note as we're coming into this month, slow down. Ease up. We've got a full moon happening in your 12th house this month that is really calling you back to rest, to ease. If you're experiencing burnout, any of these things, if you feel like you need to get back to being a little bit creative, you want to go that direction. And we're going to end the month with a new moon happening in your relationship sector. But if you're not rested and rejuvenated and able to give and participate, the relationship dynamics are really complicated. So let's take it all in, but just nice and slow, okay? All right, Leo, let's get in here and see what's going on this month. So first of all, at the beginning of the month, we see Venus on the 2nd move into the energy of Aquarius. So this is right across the street. 7th house, the 7th house dynamics, the relationship dynamics are lighting up. Now remember that relationships in the 7th house are not just marriage and romance. It's conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships. So yes, a marriage, but what about the relationship with a business partner? What about the relationship of you with you? This is a critical relationship. You with whatever you call a higher power that guides your life, right? What are the conscious, chosen relationships you have, to include your open enemies, okay? Now, as Venus comes into this area of your chart, one of the things that first of all, you want to know is that Venus is going to be here until the 26th, and then it'll move forward. But first of all, Venus is an attracting energy. So Venus is an attracting in to this relationship area of your chart, and it may be attracting in really unconventional people, or it's like attracting in people who change the dynamic of your relationships in general. You know, they're really different than you, or they're really funny, or you find out that they are from a different place that you were from, or they show you something about yourself that you're like, yeah, I'd like to innovate and go that way. Now, I also like to include in Aquarian vibration that this can also be relationships that are established online, right? This isn't it's Aquarian energy, so you could definitely find it online. You know, are you picking a different astrologer? Are you hanging out with me for the first time? Like, what does this look like in your life in terms of unconventional influence that Venus calls in? Now, in another very practical way, you could see financial benefit, because Venus does like to call in money as well. So if you're looking for a business partner, or you're looking to make a connection in some way, this can be absolutely beneficial here as well. When we get to the 6th, we're going to see a full moon happening at 16 degrees of Cancer. Okay, now as this particular moon is happening, this lunation asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. And this is in your 12th house, Leo. So it is like, where do you need to rest, right? Where do you need to rest? Where do you need to relax? Where do you need to allow the revelation that resting doesn't make you invaluable? Right? Where do you need to breathe that in a little bit? We're nurturing yourself, Cancer, emotionally resting. Where can you allow yourself to kind of come down and process? I think that's a great move at this particular moon. When we get to the 12th, we're going to see Mars coming out of retrograde now in this energy of Gemini. Now, as we see Mars coming out of retrograde, it's at 8 degrees of Gemini. Okay, so locate that on your chart, which is, of course, the space where it's the 11th house space for you. So friendships, long-range plans, goals, and designs. Maybe those have been very frustrating for a time. You've been trying to move something forward. You've been trying to connect. You've been trying to get online. You've been trying to connect with an organization or get plans done, and it's all been very frustrated, and nothing's been able to move forward. Now, as Mars comes out of retrograde nice and slowly, it'll start to pick up speed here. The friendships can come back around. The business online can come back around. Information can come back online. Hopefully, you've gathered information information as well during this retrograde time to inform you and help you pick a different strategy as we see Mars fully out of its retrograde path when we get to March. On the 18th, now Mercury will turn direct in the energy of Capricorn. And it's funny because it's coming direct at 8 degrees of Capricorn, just like we saw 8 degrees of Gemini. So 8s are a pretty powerful month for you this month, Leo. A pretty powerful number for you this month. But as we see Mercury coming direct this month, remember this is of the mind. So what we're thinking, what we're talking about, what we're discussing, where we need to make decisions. And this has very much so been in your 6th house. So in the space of your daily routines. I mean, if we look in your life, Leo, back to December 12th, what has been different in your daily routine? It's been very Capricornian. Maybe something in your structures have changed. Were you doing, cleaning out of your house? Did you change your furniture around? Did your health get different in some ways? Were you someplace different for the holidays? Did you travel? What was different as you saw Mercury retrograde here? But also, it would have been that you got information and you reviewed information. And now, by the time we get to February 11th, we'll see Mercury fully clear the retrograde cycle. So where you're going next with the decisions and the information that played out all the way from December 12th, you should have more clarity and answer to that as we get to February, okay? On the 20th, we see the sun entering into the energy of Aquarius. So it's that time of year where the relationship house lights up. The sun brings light, heat, life, and vitality. So now there is movement, there is desire, there's new perspective, we're striving, we want things in our relationships, we're calling things in for our relationships. This area of our life is significant, right? So the relationships here that are opening and have this luster around them are really very important. Now, to support that, just on the 21st, we have a new moon at 1 degree of Aquarius, okay? The new moon asks us to plant our seeds of intention. It says, okay, where do you want to improve this area, or where are you open and you're willing to expand your relationship dynamics? Where have you been holding a resentment or grief in a primary relationship and you're willing to see it from a different perspective? Aquarius, innovate, right? This is if there's been a rut in relationships, this particular moon and this season of Aquarius will definitely break it open and bring some really different relationships into your life. On the 22nd, we see Uranus come direct in the energy of Taurus. Now, Uranus is going to come direct at 14 degrees of Taurus. We saw Uranus in the entirety of the Uranian cycle. May of 2022 to May of 2023 is where we saw Uranus working fully, okay? And Uranus in Taurus has really been about, where do you need to go back in your career, in your title, in what you call yourself, in who and what we know you as in public? And you're looking at where am I willing to innovate and have freedom? Where does something here no longer have value anymore? I want to separate from it in some way. And it could be very surprising, These could even be relationships or ideas or ideals that you've had in your life for a very long time, and now you're seeking to change them, or the change is being decided for you. That's also a real possibility here, okay? As we're going to close out this month, beautiful Leo friends, we've got Venus now whooshed on from the energy of Aquarius out of that 7th house, but now moving into the energy of Pisces and lining up this 8th house space. Now, keep in mind, Venus is exalted in the energy of Pisces, so very happy. It's not home court advantage, but it's the next very best thing. Okay, so Venus is in full power in this area of your chart. And one of the things I think you have to understand here, Leo, is that while this is the 8th house and it's, there's joint finances and intimacy and connection and sex and reproductive organs and trauma and healing and information and people and death, debt, taxes, it's the place of intimacy and assets is really what happens in your 8th house area, is that Venus comes to understand with some compassion that everything is everything. And that's really sometimes, I think, hard to breathe in and to understand, but there's a lot of compassion when Venus is in this area. There is a lot of understanding that life is just not all rainbows and lollipops. It's just not. That sometimes the hardest or most complicated things that you are being handed. As Venus is in Pisces, you start to see that maybe there's a little gray area in here, and this can be as beneficial for you as anything else. Now, in a practical mindset, Venus in the 8th house can attract in finances to you. So if you've had, an inheritance, or you've been dealing with estates or wills or taxes or even romance, right? Like you could have, your partner could have something financially beneficial or of value coming to them in some way, shape, and form. Now, in its own separate way, I do think too, especially if you live in the United States right now, Venus in the 8th house can mean you're paying a little bit more in death, debt, or taxes for one of those very practical resources. So let me know how the month is manifesting for you down below. I look forward to connecting with you in February and as we travel throughout 2023. Bye, Leo friends.